We'll wait till he comes back. We can chat amongst ourselves and our viewers. We don't have any at the moment.
Okay. For those of you who are probably wondering exactly what my grades were for the following issues that
sure.
Review.
Yeah,
okay. Quick review.
Brad, this hang on, just real quick, McNulty. Brad, this has the same title, The Spider News, February 2018. Yeah, oh, no, never mind.
I put reviews. Yeah,
you're right. Never mind. Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead, Mike.
I think you guys did Venom 160, right?
Yeah, I gave it a D.
Yeah, D- for me.
Okay.
I think the Venom Omega was a D. Slightly better, mainly because of the art thing. Both issues of Amazing Spider-Man that came afterwards, I would say put those at C-. The annual was like about a C. I thought the second story was better than the main story.
See, that's what I thought. No one would. I wish you were on the line. I'm the only one that liked it.
Well, I think here's the thing is I mean, I knew that the Spider-Sense thing on that was just completely like, he just kind of like made up his own rules, but then so does every other Spider-Man writer out there.
Yeah, you two act like I hated that book. I did not.
No, we're talking about the second story.
The second story.
Not the Ned Leeds story. We're talking about
I like the second story too.
Oh, okay. I didn't think you did.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually did too. Okay. It's just George that hated it. And JR.
George hates everything.
Well, I know the main story in that was just basically like, okay, we had to follow up the clone conspiracy, I guess. And but it's just kind of like, it was okay. I mean, it was better than the other the regular Amazing Spider-Man issues, especially that whole business like with that whole Mockingbird thing, like, yeah. We wasted the past 2 years to just basically tell people what we already knew, that this relationship was a waste of time. It was forced, and we have absolutely nothing in common other than we're superheroes. It's like, hey, it took us in the podcast 2 seconds to come up with that conclusion, Mr. Sod.
and talk about
these are the stories we couldn't tell with a married Peter.
Yeah, exactly.
What was your thoughts on the Loki issue, Mike?
My thoughts about that was like, really, we waited. That was it. That was like, we waited like more than a decade for that. I mean, it was just like, okay, you could have. I mean, granted, you could have done something more with it. But
we talked about how it was like you were waiting for a meal for 10 years and you were served like cold nuggets or old pizza or whatever.
It has that nice stale crunchiness to it. It might have looked appetizing once upon a time. Yeah. But then you realize, you left it in the oven too long, and now it's like super baked, and it's
George mentioned that it was Slott on his way out to taking away one possible way that they could undo the Mephisto deal.
Well, it also makes me think about that whole business about how he felt like this was his plan, that he was always going to kind of leave about 800.
Yeah,
I'm not so convinced of that now, because it's clearly that he's trying to wrap up everything he can as fast as he can.
That wasn't even his plot element. That was JMS's.
Oh, I know. No, but he also with the Mockingbird thing. You knew there was probably going to be something. He was going to play that longer than he did.
I know what you meant.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because it's just like, that I mean, I'm sure what CB Cebulski got on his butt and said, hey, you know what? We're making a few changes around here. We got to wrap some of this stuff up. We got to, change some guards and everything like that, especially with Bendis leaving. So it's like, you better hurry up and wrap this stuff up because we're giving you Iron Man. So, and so Ben is.
Wait a minute. Wait. JR has joined us with a hat. Let me see this. He's got a Walter Matthau hat on, sir.
He's got a French beret on. How is that a Walter Matthau hat?
Looks like something Walter Matthau.
It's a bully hat.
Wait, go back. Yeah, I didn't see it. It's hard to see it.
Like a grumpy old man hat.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a
George had a hat. George had a hat, so I had to have a hat.
It looks like you're about to wander through the English countryside, JR.
It's just like what is that show about old guys?
Hold on, I'm getting a hat.
Days of Strawberry Wine or something like that.
It's called the Crawl Space Podcast.
Yeah. Great.
Bunch of old dudes and their plucky young sidekick.
So wait a minute. Are Ashley and I the only person not getting headgear on in this thing? Because Zach looks like he took off too to get headgear.
I've worn like a hat almost like every episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, let's see what Ashley's got. What is that? Oh, nice. What is that? A trilby?
I guess so.
Now, I don't want to make these not mint, so the little gloves are staying attached.
Oh, that's cute.
So trendy.
I think the moment you put it on your head, it stopped being.
It's not mint.
Great.
Wait,
Now I
it
gotta
looks
look
like
for-
Zach's
now I
pulling
gotta look-
George's hair.
Now I got to look for a cap or some kind, and then all my stocking stuff is left because now I'm going to feel left out unless I go like this. Yeah, I'm wearing a headset. That counts.
No, that's not a
this.
trilby.
That's
Ashley.
my gear.
Now that I actually see Ashley's hat, that's not a trilby. Whoa!
What?
Joiner! Wow!
Oh my
right.
god!
Yeah,
He's
he's
the
got
biggest
this-
sombrero I've ever seen.
Got a sombrero on.
Is that a 12-inch sombrero?
As soon as I saw that, I'm hearing like Slim Whitman in my head. Una panuna banca.
Here, hold on.
This, George, this is exactly
I'll
what
put
you didn't
this-
want us.
I can
to
put
do. It's
this
what
on my
Zach
whole-
did with the props.
I'll put
Oh,
this
I-
on my tinfoil,
This is
my
totally
tinfoil
prop.
hat.
Oh my
I can
god.
put on my tinfoil hat.
I didn't
How's
get a
that?
prop. I had a hat. A hat is an object of clothing.
It's a tinfoil
Looks-
diadem.
That looked like a movie of the week Wonder Woman crown. Holy
This,
Yeah.
this is not meant for a grown man to wear. This is cutting off circulation. Ah. There we go.
Well, what's
Wait a
the
minute.
age on that thing? Doesn't it say?
Well, I bought it for my daughter and she wouldn't wear it. So,
No.
here, you know what? I think it's reversible. Hold on.
All right, I'm a Mexican Spidey.
Oh, there you go.
That's legit. I like that.
It is reversible. Look, I've got spider
Oh.
sense.
Cool.
Yeah, there you go.
Zach, that's awesome.
Oh my
think
gosh!
I think I might keep that on for the rest of the show.
Yeah, Zach.
Robert
Zach
Rodriguez
wins
is
the,
Spider-Man.
yeah, Zach wins the award here. I guess for best hat.
Zach wins. Oh my gosh!
Spider-Man coming to the El Rey Network this fall.
With the eyes.
Oh, this is fun. I don't have my glasses on, so you guys are a little blurry, but that's okay.
Okay.
I posted some of the links of the figures on the in the chat window there, Brad. I'll make a post later, either tomorrow.
Oh, I see. I see. About the new Marvel Legends. Okay, we ready, gang? Let's get it done. Okay, let me queue up my list of what we're talking about. Ashley, we'll start with you with the Venom movie, okay?
Oh boy.
Okay.
One of
Coming
the
down
movies
in
no one ever asked for.
3,
Oh.
2, 1. Hey, Crawl Spacers, welcome to our news reviews podcast. Let's introduce the panel. We've got Ashley. What's going on, Ash?
I just had an embarrassing moment where I didn't realize we hadn't started yet. So
Oh, we're on now. George, what's going on, sir?
Hi, everybody.
What's going on, JR?
I can't wait to talk about the Venom trailer, everybody. Woo-hoo.
And we've got Zach wearing a sombrero and a Spider-Man mask. You have to tune into the YouTube stream to see this stuff, folks, if you're just listening to audio. Zach, what's up, senor?
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
And joining us, we missed you on the last podcast, but Mike is back. What's up, Mike?
Well, I'm the only one who decided not to wear a hat because I choose not to choose not to go with the conformity at all.
That's you're wearing an
headset counts as a head accessory.
There you
Yes,
go.
the
If it were an
headset does
RPG,
count. I
you
guess
would
the
definitely
headset
be wearing
counts.
it.
It's
But if you
like
saw-
Wonder
but if you-
Woman's invisible plane. You're wearing an
But if you
invisible
guys
hat.
were joining in live earlier and not listening to the podcast, I did have a little tinfoil thing on earlier. So
Mhm. There you
but-
go. To get better reception or better
Exactly.
internets. So a certain trailer, our first news topic, a certain trailer with a symbiote dropped. Ashley, tell us about this Venom trailer.
Well, I have to take umbrage with Werewolf's comment here, saying that the Venom trailer looked like any given generic action drama movie, the trailer, because clearly there is that one shot where we had a little tub of goo in the back of the truck. That just pulls it all together right there. QED. But no, there's really no better way to put it. It is where we have one of the most generic. Just it could be any movie really if it weren't for the title card at the end. I know we're still at it's just a teaser trailer, so it's definitely too early a little early to be calling, passing any judgment just yet, but under normal circumstances. But what I saw, I just wasn't really impressed with. It hasn't really shown anything other than confirming this movie is definitely happening.
Yeah.
So what we see is it opens with, you see some cars flying around and stuff that looks weird, and you're like, what's going on?
Nope, but we're losing Ashley.
I think.
We're going.
She's doing the auto tune. Hold, time out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, are you there, Ashley? There you are.
Yeah.
Your internet's giving out.
10-year-old computer is just. How's my internet right now? Is it?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. I was gonna have to go kick Jack off of Overwatch in the other room, but
He's watching Iron Fist in the other room. Make it stop for him.
Okay.
Worth watching.
I said Overwatch in the other room.
Oh, Overwatch. Okay.
Not nearly as masochistic.
I knew what you meant.
But I guess we see Tom Hardy as, I believe it's going to be Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
Just lying in what looks like an MRI machine, and people saying mysterious things about, you go through trauma and you don't come back the same person. And we get awkward, jerky edit of him shaking on the table. We see a guy open up the back of a truck, and there's a bunch of goo in it, and that's about it. I mean, it is a teaser. We don't see much, but what is there just doesn't. If it's a teaser, it's not really teasing anything. I mean, I feel like it would have been a more effective teaser to just show the logo and the last 5 seconds of it, because that's the most pertinent visuals. And
there was a meme that had 2 gallons of milk being poured, and it looks like 2 splashes of Venom milk or whatever. I thought that was funny. I did like the eyes turn into a V. That was neat. But leading up to that point,
it was cool. And I like the music. The music sounded pretty cool. A good match for whatever they're going for. But as far as any major story information, we're not really given anything on that, and we're not really given anything as far as what is Venom gonna look like, or what could be to kind of generate some anticipation there. There's nothing.
I was confused who the narrator was. Was that Tom Hardy narrating it?
Yes, it was Tom Hardy.
It did not sound like him.
And there, well, Brad, it's Tom Hardy. He has to have an unusual, weird-sounding voice in every film he's in, along with screaming like a maniac. That's how you know this is more of a Tom. Yes, exactly. He's got to have he's got to have some weird thing, and so he screams like a maniac. That's how you know this is a Tom Hardy film, more so than you do a Venom film, actually.
El trailer de Dinero e Pesta.
Yeah.
So. I mean, did anybody love the trailer? I haven't seen much raving about the trailer at all.
No. See, here's the thing. Play devil's advocate for Sony here. I understand why they did try to keep this more of a teaser and not show Venom in his full glory, because they want people to try to get hyped up of the film and see what it looks like.
But then they didn't show.
Glory. Yeah, of course.
Prep you for that. There is no little glimpse or hint. There is nothing that you can see in a think. I'm thinking back to the Cloverfield trailer. You don't want to see the monster, but they show what.
Yeah, they show a glimpse of it. Yeah.
They show it knocking the head off the Statue of Liberty, and you see it's there, it's coming.
Oh, sure. Even the 2014 Godzilla film actually showed bits of Godzilla, maybe not the full Godzilla thing.
And it got you excited for it.
But I think it's also clearly watching this teaser. Clearly, they, except for made the symbiote goop in the jar, they clearly did not finish the special effects yet. Because if you're watching this thing, it looks like Tom Hardy has psychic powers.
Finish, hell, it didn't look like they hadn't even started.
I know. Exactly.
Even the Spider-Man 3 trailer had...
Este trailer de Spider-Man 3 mostró un visitero.
Yes.
Yeah. So we got a glimpse of the symbiote coming right at the camera lens, the Kirby hand, sorry. But we saw the Venom a little bit. How hard would it have been to have the goo going on his arm or anything, or going over his eyes, turning his eyes
Well,
black.
the only thing they showed was like his veins turning black in his neck as he was screaming like a maniac on his.
I was too distracted by the jerky editing.
Yeah, it's like. Mhm.
It's a Sony movie, so there's going to be at least 9 trailers before release.
Oh yeah.
And the last 4 will tell you exactly what the plot of the movie is.
Exactly.
JR is not a big Venom fan, so I probably know he's not excited about this. But what was your take on the trailer, sir?
Well, I mean, my opinions of Venom are long and complicated or whatever, but obviously I'll probably be seeing it because Spencer will want to see it. But taking aside whatever biases I might have, there just wasn't anything that screamed, you got to see this movie.
Right.
You know, I mean, Tom Hardy's whatever that mumbling or growling or whatever he was doing. I mean, you know, you didn't see any action. I mean, I didn't expect to see Venom. I mean, you're not going to see him that early, but you don't even get a feel for what the movie's even about. You know, I mean, even like with a superhero movie that just kind of, you know, it's going to be superheroes fighting bad guys. You don't know there's nothing that tells you what this is about. Nothing that suggests that, well, you know, you have to see this movie. So,
you know,
okay, go ahead, Brad.
Oh, I was just going to say the scuttlebutt or the rumor that's been going around is that Woody Harrelson is playing Cletus Cassidy.
No.
And do you like that casting?
I don't believe that.
No, I don't buy it either.
Okay.
I mean, the only thing I can glean from this trailer that what it could be possibly about is that, you know, Eddie Brock gets infected from some symbiote goo from space, and the military-industrial complex is after him, and that's about it.
Yeah,
that's pretty much, you know, there's your film right there. Oh, and it doesn't have Spider-Man in it, so. Again, which is kind of
maybe it does,
or it kind of misses the whole point.
Are they going for an R for this thing, or probably a PG-13?
I have no idea.
But
they're definitely trying to go for like trying to paint this as some kind of like sci-fi horror flick or something because you know the way they're
not
trying to hear it.
You're a movie.
Yeah. All right, I think we discussed that one long enough. George, another trailer came out during the Super Bowl. Let's talk about the Infinity War.
For Infinity War. About to say a lot of trailers came out during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So we got a new Infinity War trailer. And I got to tell you, someone who's liked Marvel films, it made me feel good to see so many Marvel characters. It looks like there's a lot of really, really important stuff coming up with Vision and Wanda. That I know I'm gonna love because I like seeing it in Age of Ultron, and I've liked the way it played out in Civil War, and I'm still not sold on Thanos' head. It still looks weird.
He needs that. He needs the crown.
He does need the crown. Otherwise, he just looks like it's like
a California raisin.
Like you're being invaded by Easter Island, you know,
or Grimace, who lost a lot of weight.
Or Grimace,
yeah.
Grimace.
And so so we've got that going on. I'm hoping that Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange will talk very little and blast a lot.
And at least say Horror Host of Hogarth or something.
Yeah, you know, something. Yeah. But to be honest, I mean, I've been vocal about this. Doctor Strange is one of my biggest letdowns as part of the MCU.
Did you like Strange in the Thor movie?
I liked him better than I did in his movie, but the voice is still not there. The voice is still not accurate. And I did like
literally or metaphorically.
I did like how easily he dispatched Loki. That was pretty fun.
That was cool.
Zach had a good point. When you say voice, do you say the actor is wrong or they don't have
No. The actor's fine. The writing is piss poor. The writing doesn't understand how his character should be at all. It's the same problem that the movie had. At all. They don't and it's the same thing. Like it's the same grievance I had when they rebooted that comic book, and I was reading this and people were like, "Oh, this is great," and I'm like, "It's great if you don't know anything about Doctor Strange, but if you're used to see the decades of Doctor Strange comporting himself in a different manner, this is trash." And so that's the thing I've had a problem with is that they've totally missed Doctor Strange's voice with all this. But I mean, we see Wakanda. I mean, there's so much in there. We see the Guardians of the Guardians, who are the best part of the Marvel MCU for me. This is why I'm so hoping that they give the Fantastic Four over to James Gunn once that Disney or Fox is filed.
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh my God, I want that so bad. My body needs it like it's orange juice. And what else? Yeah, it's
The Spider-Man thing. We
oh yeah, right. Spider-Man popped up for I think in 2 different shots, all total for maybe 5 seconds.
Well, there is one thing that I noticed in this trailer. When he hops on the circle thing, he's in his regular suit.
Yeah, he's in his he's in the Stark suit.
Well, the
Later.
the first Stark suit, yes.
Yeah, he's in the first Stark suit, and then later on in the film, it looks like he's just in a second Stark suit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Or
Spider-Man's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is diverging off of Spider-Man news, but another rumor, unconfirmed, is that they released the Lego toy where there's
We're going to talk about that in a minute. That's one of my news topics, dude.
No. I'm talking Hulk.
Oh.
Hold on. The Hulkbuster armor, they think Bruce Banner is operating that instead of Tony Stark.
I've actually seen that rumor too.
Yeah, and which
Um,
makes me think, what if Thanos separates the Hulk, where you have Banner here and you have Hulk here? It's 2 different characters.
Well, the one thing I've seen from that is that after that, the way that's been theorized is that after the end of Thor Ragnarok, where Thanos attacks him and stuff. Because remember, the Hulk is with Thor. Spoilers, by the way,
he's on the ship.
Right.
Yeah.
So when Hulk gets knocked, by Thanos or hits something less, he lands in Doctor Strange's, Sanctum Sanctorum, as you see in that first one trailer. He turns it back into Banner, and Banner can't change back into the Hulk for a while. So that's why he puts the Hulkbuster armor on, because to basically fight the guys or whatever it is. So because they're trying to go through this whole thing, it looks like that they're trying to, if you're looking at through interviews, that this is that Thor Ragnarok and the last 2 the upcoming 2 Avenger films are kind of like an arc for the Hulk and Banner, like sort of like how they kind of completes his story, because again, all the original Avengers are kind of like after Avengers 3 and 4, as I call them, their contracts are up. So there's a lot of people speculating that maybe this is kind of like how
one of my favorite things. Another Hulk diversion discussion. One of my favorite things is where Banner and Hulk are in the same frame. And that is one of my favorite episodes of the 70s series, is when he gets hypnotized by Marriott Hartley. And the Hulk is out in the desert, and David Banner is looking at him and he's chasing him. To have Hulk and Banner in the same frame, I think would be awesome. So But another thing that the toys have revealed is a little bit about the Iron Spider. So Zach, talk about that a little bit.
So okay, Lego is notorious now for. I'm no longer going to be speaking in Spanish since this is my news story.
Oh, thank God!
Thank God,
wasn't getting old at all.
I kind of figured.
I would have started screaming, "Make America Great Again!"
Oh my God! Wow,
it's absolutely huge. Anyway, so Lego has now spoiled 2 different Marvel movies.
Yeah.
They spoiled Civil War with the big giant man reveal during the airplane scene, and now it seems that the 4 arms are in the Iron Spider suit.
It should be 3 arms, but it looks like they put a 4th one on.
Because the 3 arms sucked.
I'll agree.
They were ugly.
There's only 7 limbs.
I'm just glad we're finally getting a movie where Spider-Man can be his own man. Oh, yeah, we still haven't gotten that in the MCU. Damn it, my bad. Sorry.
So, so that's more or less what's happened. We've also gotten a new Marvel Legends, which is probably the best close-up look we've seen of the new suit. Obviously, it was teased. This suit was teased at the end of Homecoming, and obviously he's been in the trailers as well. So
at some point during the fight in the Sanctum Sanctorum, he's going to pull 4 arms out of his back with the new Stark suit.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, woo.
Zach, you said Legends. Do you want to stick with? You want to keep going? You want to talk about your new Legends?
About the Legends, man.
Yeah.
So, pull up my what I was working on. So Marvel not Marvel Toy Fair. New York Toy Fair is going on as we speak this weekend that we're recording this particular podcast. And as such, they've got got some big reveals, and the Marvel Legends series is here. So I'll just kind of do the rundown. Let me. These texts are small.
What? You're gonna hang yourself? What in the world? What?
Sorry, I can't see the text.
Well, when you pull that mask back, it's funky looking. Oh my god! You got. What's going on?
All right.
Oh, that looks so weird with the mask pulled back. Like
All
that.
right. So,
Looks like he's wearing a bald cap.
No, it looks like he's got giant red eyebrows. Look at this.
taking the freaking mask off. Anyway, so all right. So we've got. I'm just gonna run it down. The new Mighty Mugs are coming out. Dark Phoenix is gonna be a Mighty Mug. I haven't seen any new Spidey Mighty Mugs yet. The big thing.
I have.
Spider-Man Wave 2. So this is what they've announced. House of M Spider-Man. A new Scarlet Spider for with Kane.
Oh, good, because everyone was clamoring for that.
Actually, there was a lot of people clamoring for that asshole.
So, like, what he's going to have? Did he hurt himself or something? He's got cane. He's got a cane.
Ooh, I'm looking at the
like it's like an accessory, right? The cane.
I'm looking at the legend. The spikes are coming out of his hands.
Yes, they found spikes. They did one about 5 years ago, but it was with the old mold. They haven't done one with the pizza slice mold, so this is them doing it this time. Cloak and Daggers coming out, which are really nice looking. All new, all different Daredevil, which is the black with the red.
Yeah, that's cool looking figure. And that's Spidey UK up there. Oh no, that's House of M Spider-Man.
That's House of M Spider-Man.
What is this robot-looking Spider-Man thing?
So SPDR. That was from Spider-Verse. That was that big giant. Yep. That was the big giant robot from Spider-Verse.
The boy that
rated by Gerard Way.
I thought that was Leo Pardo.
My Chemical Romance.
No, this is a different one.
No,
this was in a miniseries.
Different Spider Robot.
That was from the Edge of Spider-Verse miniseries. That's the Build-A-Figure.
Leo Pardo is from Spider-Man.
Yeah, from the 70s.
This one is kind of similar in a kind of a manga thing, except it's
more of
it's like
it was more of an Evangelion reference.
Yeah,
so
very much so.
Eras of Giant Robot. We're talking 90s versus 70s.
That Carnage figure is attractive. It's got a Cletus Cassidy head.
I was going to get to that. So Elektra's coming out, and then the big one for that Wave 2 for me is a classic Doc Ock, which Hasbro has never made a classic Doc Ock.
Yeah,
Toy Biz, but Hasbro never has. So
I've got that Toy Biz one. That new Hasbro one looks good.
And then we've got the Venom Wave.
Now, Mike and I support Hasbro. Mike, do you know why?
Why is that? Because of G.I. Joe?
They own Wizards of the Coast. They own the people that make our D&Ds. Yeah,
that's right. They do. I forgot about that. Yep.
So we've got Avengers Wave. They've got some Black Knights. Ant-Man and Wasp stuff's going to start hitting pretty hard. One of the 2-packs, though, I will say this, is Stinger from the MC2 and Ant-Man, which is the Scott Lang version of Ant-Man. So this is the second MC2 character that's ever been featured with Hasbro. So I'm really excited for that one. I actually called my roommate in. I was like, dude, come look at this. So I'm as an MC2 fan, I'm hugely excited. The Venom Wave, getting to what Brad was saying. Venom and Carnage were announced a few weeks back, but they are now announced with unmasked heads. Now, George has pointed out that the Eddie Brock unmasked head is like twice the size of Venom's head for some reason.
I didn't even need to really point it out. I mean, you can see the damn thing from space. It's that large. It's like the size of Ashley's cat.
So,
just the head.
So, for the first time, Scream is going to be one of the new figures.
She was a Toy Biz Venom Wave once before, wasn't she?
Yes, but never in Hasbro. Poison. Now, the unfortunate thing about the Venom and Carnage is that they are repaints. So those that already got those 2 figures are kind of annoyed.
That does suck if you're spending $20 each on these figures.
Yeah, especially if you're doing it just for the head swap.
That and the web lines aren't even filled in.
So we're going to talk about that with and then Spider Ham.
Now that might make me spend $20 on it.
I might masked ham, Brad. It's not even complete.
The first
Well,
thing that I thought
I need a spider ham, dude.
the first person I thought of was you.
I love me some spider ham. It's great with
I love Spider-Ham too, but I mean, this is a half-assed figure.
It does need black web lines on the front.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
it's because you can
So,
kind of hardly see it in there.
There's going to be more reveals coming later this year to keep it kind of Spider-Man related. Walgreens is going to be finishing off the Fantastic Four. They've already released a Sue and Johnny Storm.
Yeah,
I hear the Sue figure is hard to find.
They've also, yeah.
Get
They've
it?
also released a Medusa figure and a Reed Richards figure. That's what the two that are coming out right now. I think Reed is actually hitting the shelves right now.
Yeah.
So later this year, you'll see The Thing with a Kirby head swap, so without the teeth, and the one that they have pictured. The Silver Surfer is also coming out as well. So a lot of great figures. I'm really excited for the Otto and Spider-Ham. Like really excited for.
I would be more excited about Spider-Ham if it was completed, but the fact that they just phoned it in and made the webs like a do-it-yourself project.
Yeah,
Like I give it the old man wave. I wave at it like JR waves at a cold soup.
well, you know, the artist. If you're looking at Spider-Man from a distance, the artist never draw on the web lines anyway.
right.
So maybe if you put the ham across your room, you can imagine that you're looking at your spider ham from a distance.
Yeah,
You
but
put the ham across your room like you're stringing her, like it's a party, like you're having a ham party.
Maybe if Spider Ham walks through a door a year later, he will have the web lines colored in.
But I gotta say, looking at these figures for the first time, some of them do look pretty sweet. I mean, that Cloak and Dagger one with looking like where she's coming out, that looks pretty.
When did Cloak get a beard? I mean,
I
a
think
goatee.
it's like I think that may be the ultimate version, maybe. I don't know, but it still looks pretty cool the way.
Shouldn't they be like going the other way and making them look younger again, since there's a TV show about them now?
Yeah, I'm sure that'll
that's true. Yeah.
Also, if you guys are fans of the MCU, they're releasing a bunch of MCU it's called MCU the first 10-year 2-packs.
Oh yeah.
So for example, you've got Mark 1 Iron Man suit. You have a 3-pack of Mandarin and Pepper Potts and Tony. So those are, so there's a lot of stuff.
That would be like a $60 box set.
Yes.
Who can drop that kind of change on three?
Well, I mean, they release, honestly, Brad, they release these all the time. Those are always usually Toys R Us exclusive.
Yeah.
They're always at Toys R Us. Also, if you like motorcycles, you got Wolverine, shirtless Wolverine.
That did look cool.
Or driving the motorcycle.
I don't like motorcycles, but damn it if I don't loves me some shirtless.
You've got Hulkbuster and the Hulk as a 2-pack.
Yeah, that'd be a cool 2-pack.
So Ronan the Accusers.
How much of this stuff are you buying, Zach? You're the only person left on the panel that buys action figures.
And
I'm
telling
priced
All
out,
my
man.
action figures just
okay, the new wave that's coming out, and like and also I mentioned that Infinity War wave where they got Iron Man and Thanos as the movie Thanos as the Build-A-Figure. Like most of that wave, the only one I want is the Spidey. I don't care about the rest of them, which is bad for me. But this is a wave that I'm actually excited for. The only thing I don't like is the Build-A-Figure, which is the exact opposite of the wave that's coming out pretty soon, the Lizard wave. I want only a couple of those figures, but yeah, I mean, I've got a wish list. This one I'll probably end up doing the whole box set and then selling out the figures I don't want. But yeah, I think that I like that design of Daredevil. I was hoping it was going to be the '90s Daredevil.
Oh gosh, with the
metal,
armor, with the veneer, with the Venetian blind shoulder pads.
I actually own a Toy Biz figure of that costume because in the Marvel superhero line in the 90s from Toy Biz, they did a repaint of Daredevil with that 90s Fall from Grace costume.
Yeah,
I actually own that figure. Yeah,
I remember getting the how to draw the 90s how to draw the Marvel way. And like the Daredevil page was that how to draw Daredevil, and that was it.
That was the Daredevil you drew, huh?
Yeah. So
that's
like,
funny.
a little nostalgic. They also, if you want the Infinity Gauntlet, you can get a replica of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh, like a Hulk hand. You just put your
Yeah, it's freaking huge, dude. Cool. Also, one of the most requested figures has been Tiger Stripe, the Jim Lee Wolverine, and they're finally releasing a new Jim Lee Wolverine.
Tiger Stripe. Oh, the yellow.
Oh,
costume.
with the yellow, the
Yeah.
yellow and blue costume original
So
thing. with
that
the-
they're finally, and then they announced that last year. I am super excited about that Stinger figure. Y'all have no idea. She's one of my favorite characters of the MC2. I just love the fact that the MC2 is getting some love. So much.
I have not seen the link to that one.
Let me. I got the image.
Oh! Here we go.
Got it.
Is it in the 2-pack?
It's in a 2-pack.
Oh yeah. Marvel Stinger.
There needs to be a 2-pack with like Puff Daddy and Biggie Smalls. Get it? Because with a 2-pack, get it?
That's funny.
yeah.
Did that
Look at there. There's a 2-pack with Everett K. Ross and
yes,
Killmonger. That's kind of cool looking.
Yes, and they. So the cool thing about the Carnage figure is that they have like the swappable hands. So you've got the axe hands. So the Carnage is actually pretty darn cool, and it's become a very hard figure to find because
It looks very Bagley first appearance.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and of course Spider-Ham looks awesome. I like that Magneto. That Magneto looks great. So there's a lot of great stuff. We'll have a complete roundup up on the crawl space.
So,
but yeah,
Zach is talking about things that he's looking forward to. I'm segueing to something Ashley is not looking forward to. Is the Silver and Black film. So Ashley, there's some new information on this.
So yeah, the movie that never should have even been conceived or thought of or dreamt of.
But I'm the next.
Apparently gotten some writers cast for it, and
again,
Replaced. They got new writers.
They got new writers. They wrote the first script and they were like, "Yeah, we're not doing that movie."
so that's a great sign. Oh God. Anyways, the writers they picked instead are Lindsay Beer and Geneva Robertson Dworet, and looking over their filmography thus far, I don't want to knock them because I haven't seen anything they've done, but they really don't have much to their names at the moment. Happy to give them a chance. But
So it's like they're coming cheap.
Yeah. We have for Lindsay Beer, we have no actual.
Well, they wrote the upcoming Godzilla versus King Kong movie that's coming out. We don't know if that's going to be good.
There's nothing they've done has come out yet. They've been writers for a lot of announced stuff, a lot of stuff that's in pre-production. So there's really nothing to really test, like for just a layperson to test, like, do I like this person's scripts? Do I like their movies? So there's really no way to measure this.
Here's
Lindsay.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Credited. We have her credited for a Barbie movie, a Dungeons and Dragons, writing the Godzilla versus Kong movie with Geneva. But while that is kind of in the
wait, they're writing the Dungeons and Dragons movie that Warner Brothers is putting out.
Oh, they're making our Dungeons and Dragons remake.
They're not remaking it. Warner Brothers is doing one that will have way more of a budget than the others.
They put that Jeremy Irons. We're in real trouble if they're putting.
No.
The other movie that all of us are probably going to go see that they wrote was the Captain Marvel with Brie Larson.
That was I don't see Lindsay Beer credited with that, but I know Geneva Robertson Dworet is credited as the writer for Captain Marvel, and is also for the Tomb Raider reboot that they're doing.
Right. That's a lot of work they're getting for their movies that have been released. They must like their short films or whatever.
They're also writing a Barbie. She's also writing a Barbie movie.
And Amy Schumer was originally cast for that, and she goes, "No, I can't pull that off."
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not feeling comforted by their new choices. It does feel like they kind of went cheap and just kind of pulled some fresh meat out of the just to see, okay, who can we get to turn out these movies? So I wish them the best and I hope it goes well. But
here's a question: if Venom bombs, does this movie get made?
Oh no,
no,
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, but yeah, looking at some of these screen credits, it definitely looks like they're trying to put her on like the next It writer. I mean, it looks like a lot of these are going to be the films they've got, like I guess part of their, because they've got a bunch of Mattel stuff in here, like Visionaries and
Micronauts. They're making a Micronauts movie.
thing. They're making a Short Circuit remake.
Oh,
yeah,
Johnny Five is back alive.
Yeah,
And then we have the director, the Gina Prince Bithwood, and none of her stuff gives me any more confidence. She's done a lot of TV writing, and then what the article Brad linked was listed as one of her, I guess is their go-to movie for her, called Beyond the Lights. We have the description of this movie. The pressures of fame have superstar singer Noni on the edge until she meets Kaz, a young cop who works to help her find the courage to develop her own voice and break free to become the artist she was meant to be.
McNulty's face was like...
I know directors both work on different...
Zach and the glasses is killing me.
McNulty's got that face that like looks like he was really hoping to hear like it, you know, like the description, like an erotic voyage of self-discovery or something like that. It looks like he's crestfallen.
No, I mean, because I'm looking at some of our other stuff like Love and Basketball and Shots Fired and The Secret Life of Bees.
Wow.
So
like, none of it really...
and we're going to make her be the action film director here, when it looks like a lot of her stuff is romantic kind of soap opera stuff.
What if it's a love story between Black Cat and Silver Sable?
Jesus Christ.
Well, then the ticket sales will go up.
Oh, don't rule it out, baby. Sony's woke in a way that Marvel is not. So don't.
I'm sure there'll be electro dancers and mud racers too.
Yes, Brad, I am wearing the glasses so I can freaking see with the damn mask on. Okay?
This,
That's the problem.
look, it's new from Marvel Legends, over 30 Spider-Man.
Here's what worries me about this, and here's why I was so quick along with McNulty to say, or maybe it was JR, I can't remember, when you said if Venom bombs, does this even get made? And we said no. Yeah. When is this thing supposed to start filming?
It's supposed to come released next February.
Okay, they haven't even announced the actors yet.
Oh,
no.
It's supposed to be released in February?
That's what they're saying.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, is this going to be like a Valentine's Day release too? Oh, that
means a Valentine's Day movie.
Because that would totally fit with this director too.
Well, that's because they don't have any more 50 Shades of Grey movies, thank God.
Yeah, where that's
it's more like 50 Shades of Silver and Black.
Oh God.
From now on, I'm just going to message Brad and point out the cool things that are said in chat so Brad can steal them without me having to like start them.
Oh, I didn't even say. Oh,
I was actually saying where X Wolf in chat said 50 Shades of. You were like,
I didn't even read what Werewolf said. Werewolf and I are on the same page mentally. I swear I didn't read the chat.
I quit this show. I'm done. I'm out. I'm off. I'm done. I'm done. Jomo stepping over all my lines.
I apologize.
But you were saying, George, about if Venom bombs and if this thing which it probably will. You were going on that thing about how this would tie into Silver and Black thing. I mean, I think because I do think that if Venom falls by the wayside, they're probably going to like put this one on the shelf or go direct to Netflix or something.
Well, here's the thing: they'll have hypothetically already be shooting this movie if it's coming out in February. Venom comes out in November.
Month, guys.
This is exactly because I thought like they were supposed to start filming this spring.
Yeah,
and I'm like, they haven't even announced the principal cast yet.
Yeah,
at all.
It just makes me really nervous that one of the writers is the writer for Captain Marvel, because I'm really looking forward to that. I want that to do well, but kind of having her associated with this project, I'm just kind of like.
But I will tell you the reason why. Okay, you've already burned through Chris Yost in this movie. This is the way they've set this up is so unfilmable almost, because if you're going to pack as many villains as has been rumored in this movie, then how is the deal with Disney going to work? Because Disney's going to need some freaking villains for the next Spider-Man movie.
I have to interrupt for a second because the fans are demanding that JR say something. The chat and YouTube are wondering if he's in a frozen cryogenic slumber. JR, are you alive?
Well, I am here. When are we going to talk about something I actually care about? Thank you,
Yeah.
Cody.
Have
Cody
we hit
didn't
anything
think-
tonight?
JR is using this time to prepare for tomorrow's spider history. I wish I was actually, but
Prepare. That's funny.
yeah,
Mhm.
frozen slumber.
You-
Oh, let
you-
it go.
JR, do you think the movie will get made?
Ask me something about I was about to say it was supposed to be released in February, but I'm more interested in who's actually going to be cast in this thing. I don't know.
The fact
That's
that we
the
haven't got a
dreading.
cast yet gives. I'm with George. It gives me a lot of pause.
I was gonna point this out earlier too about the casting. Not only do we not have the casting announced, we haven't even had rumors of casting.
Right.
That's true.
I mean,
Take that for what it's worth. I mean, but there's a lot of warning signs about this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen
yeah.
Sony announce shit all the live long day before and then not do it.
but
Here's the thing. Oh, go ahead.
If I'm Sony, we've talked about this, with the Fox deal. I just don't think that Disney's going to sit there and not going to sit there and say, "Here's a truckload of cash. Let us have Spider-Man back."
I feel like if the Venom movie bombs, and at this point, I'm really feeling like it's going to. I think Sony is or is overestimating the draw of Venom in the first place. Number one, to a mass audience, not to a mass audience. Number two, Tom Hardy. I think they think Tom Hardy's a way bigger name than they think Tom Hardy actually is for most moviegoers. And I think if the Venom movie bombs, I think we're going to start seeing real rumors about Disney maybe buying Sony.
Yeah, because they're tarnishing their brand that they make billions off of.
Yeah,
and there's been a rumor that Sony will be up for sale too, and
Well,
Disney
it's
is
been around a while,
just throwing the cash around.
And the sad thing about this is that Amy Pascal has tinkled all over Spider-Man with the Mark Webb films. Homecoming succeeded despite Amy Pascal. Let's be honest. She's done everything she can to make this thing smell like a stinky daycare. And if Marvel buys Sony out, she's going to get like a huge, some kind of huge package out of everything.
The other thing that everybody needs to take into account: Sony just named a new CEO, and he's willing to sell.
Oh yeah, the new CEO that Sony wants to divest themselves.
Yeah,
there's a lot of companies that were like, sure, yeah, we'll look at movies and TV, and now they're like, Fox just did it. Sony's like, wow, yeah, we want out of this now.
We're just going to make video games and televisions and electronics.
Yeah, the new CEO is definitely up for selling, and I forgot the new CEO's name.
I did too.
Yeah,
Honestly, it feels like these movies are happening because they have to prove they're doing something with the IP.
Right.
I just think that there's Sony has the liquidity to buy the IP back from Sony.
Yeah,
They just do.
Well, moving on out of a nice segue about Amy Pascal, Mike, talk about Amy Pascal's lunch.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
where's the link on that thing for a second here?
It's on the message board.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I actually
Way to come in like a pro.
Exactly.
Way to come
right.
in prepared like a pro at the last minute.
Well, I did not know I was actually going to be doing the
I-
new segments of things. It just kind of sprung on me here for a second.
It's like the JR school of show prep.
So
The Fettinger
absolutely.
of preparedness.
Absolutely right. I mean, so
it's the one on the message board.
Making it up as we go.
It says
Okay,
Mike
so
next to it.
By the way,
Oh,
you're
really?
going out a stash.
oh yeah.
I've been wondering about this all night.
What?
Mhm.
Are you
What
going out a
happened?
mustache?
Who?
He's working on one.
Who's working on one?
It's
Oh,
hard
wow.
to explain.
I can see it now. I thought it was fungus.
Yeah. It's
JR's?
it's my fed up face. But everybody,
It's like if Reed Richards is in the Baxter Building. He's been working all night. That's
About-
the look JR is going for.
every year at work, there's a point in time where I just get sick of things and I just don't shave. It's my fed up face. That's all I can say.
Okay. All right. Well,
Okay, Mike, you got the link?
Yeah, getting there for a second. Sorry, folks, for all this.
Brad has
delay.
a hatred of beards, so I'm filling time for McNulty so that way he can get prepared.
Okay.
Why are you so anti-beard, by the way, Brad?
I'm not anti-beard for other people. I'm anti-beard for this face. I don't like a beard on my face. It makes me feel unclean. I mean, when I get up in the morning, I like to brush my teeth and shave my cabeza. I'm going back to the Spanish spider.
Okay, we've watched you bathe
Okay.
in Cheetos on this camera, Brad.
You've watched me bathe in Cheetos?
Yes. And now you're like, oh no, the beard is unclean.
I don't want to eat a
Okay.
sandwich, and then later I got some pickle chips in it or something. I don't know.
And speaking of sandwiches,
Kirby hands with a segue. Nice.
yeah.
Cody,
Speaking of
Cody's
sandwiches, we've got basically a food fight going on, according to this article, between Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal, who decided, hey, rather than handing him a sandwich, we're going to throw the sandwich at him. Basically, the article was from comicbook.com. Apparently, I guess during this, according to the Wall Street Journal, okay, they had like some kind of a meeting about between Disney and Sony, and
It's
the
when
meeting was
Feige
over
originally
lunch.
asked for Spider-Man back.
Yeah. During the meeting, was over lunch, and the meal concluded when then Sony Picture Chief Pascal threw her sandwich at Feige and quote unquote half jokingly told him to get the F out. And so this was before all the Sony email hacking business, by the way. So it was only after that hack stuff came out that's when they decided to start, maybe Feige, maybe,
Well,
maybe
after
we should
that, and
kind of
after
accept
Amazing
some of
Spider-Man
Disney.
2, like took a swan dive.
Right.
Swan dive, yeah. Maybe we should start taking some of that Disney money, basically, it's something. So yeah, essentially, Pascal at the time was kind of being really, they had this death grip apparently on Spider-Man, and they did not want Marvel coming in thinking like, hey, hey, you know what? You've been doing pretty bad with your movies. Maybe we should, take over. And she's like, no. And so she tried to defeat the all-powerful movie mogul with food.
Another article that came out this month is that years ago, back in 1998, Sony was presented with the whole Marvel catalog, like everybody, the Avengers, etc. And they could.
When Marvel was like cash broke.
Yeah, when they were going through their bankruptcy, and Marvel went up to Sony and said, "You can have it all for $25 million." And they scoffed at it. They said, "We don't want anybody except Spider-Man."
Well, here's the thing: Sony was completely incapable of doing what Marvel did for themselves, and then what Disney did with them later on. So Sony's just not capable of that.
I would agree.
That thing takes planning, vision, foresight. Sony has none of that. Sony is throw anything against the wall. Let's sink money into it and pray to God it works.
So Sony in '98
like Pascal throwing a sandwich.
Yeah.
So Sony spent $10 million and got the Spider-Man rights back in '98. And how much do you think Disney would have to spend to get Spider-Man back now?
I bet if Sony winds up getting bought out by Disney, it's not going to be as big as the Fox deal, and it's not going to be as big as when Disney bought like Star Wars or Disney bought Marvel. Those were both $4 billion each.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Remember, we've covered this on the show before. Which superhero far away exceeds every other superhero in licensing revenue?
Yeah. Right, Spider-Man.
So I bet Sony would be willing to sell. And by the way, when I say Sony would be willing to sell, I mean basically Spider-Man, because it is all that Sony has, for $2 billion. And I bet you Disney would be willing to jump on it.
Well, see, here's the thing. See, the thing about another thing about this original, this article, this piece that came out about this, apparently, if we're supposed to believe this thing, apparently the reason why they speculate that the deal happened at all is because after those Sony leaks, the fans, when they learned that there was a deal being offered, they said, "Hey, we actually want this. We actually want Sony to sell Spider-Man back to Marvel." Apparently, so they're kind of thinking that maybe they kind of caved into fan pressure or something.
That's a great return on your money, though. You spend $10 million and you get $2 billion back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Disney come in, make your movie for you.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And then make you money.
Yep.
And then you're like, well, let's make the same stupid ass decisions that we just sunk our franchise to begin with. Let's continue down that road because that makes sense, and it's not at all like we're run by crazy people.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, it's going back to like, I mean, we've read some of this stuff with the Sony email stuff. I mean, especially we're going back to the Venom film. I mean, Avi Arad, he's convinced that that Venom is a standalone Venom film is like going to be like big blockbuster thing. So that's probably one of the reasons why they don't want to give up full control, because again, they think that these films are going to make, this is their cash cow essentially. These Spider-Man stuff.
And I think everybody except Ashley was reading the comics at the time. You remember in '98 when they announced the Blade movie?
Oh yeah.
And you remember the Stan soapbox?
Mm-hmm.
Like Venom has always been one of those that they've included on that forever.
Yep.
And so, I mean, and I'm thinking about it now. Black Panther, Ant-Man, the Avengers, Captain America, all of them were, I mean, because at one point, I think Thor was with New Line or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a plan and they had licensed all these characters out. Some of them never obviously came to fruition, but Venom's always been on that list.
Yeah.
Yep. The silver and black thing is just asinine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fair to the fans. It's really not. Because when you had Sam Raimi there, Sam Raimi was a visionary.
Well, the thing is I think a Venom movie, I think the appeal of a Venom movie would have been much larger in the 90s than it is now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think Sony is overestimating the draw of a Venom movie and the draw of frankly, also the draw of Tom Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think they're going to get a rude awakening.
Well, and especially if you think about Venom nowadays, it's been what, like 30 since, this character has been around for 30 years. And in a sense, the most best he ever was back in the 90s, really. I mean, because that's where
his first few appearances. Yeah.
Well, he was overexposed as hell.
Oh yeah, and he's overexposed now because he's
overexposed to comic book fans still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's overexposed surely to Spider-Man fans, but in the 90s, everything that Marvel put out ad-wise, like any kind of Venom was always on there. Wolverine, Ghost Rider.
Yep.
And that was like, you saw that shit happen. You saw them as much as you saw Captain America, Iron Man back then.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, more in some cases than a lot of the Avengers. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the thing was that was the height of its saturation, and I think the height of the fans giving a damn about the character either way. Mm-hmm. I mean, not to say that fans don't give a damn about them now, they do. But the amount of people who are that invested in it and who care that much about it is far, far less than it was in the 1990s.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see. We're moving on to another topic. Let's see. How about I talk about spinner racks? So back when
I'm out.
George is out. One of my favorite things in the 80s was to go to the gas station or go to a convenience store.
Did you buy one?
I do own a spinner rack in the Spider Shrine. And that is how you found comic books back in the day. Spinner racks had the latest issues. You would wait and you'd spin it and it'd have a creaky sound. And you couldn't avoid a comic book back in the 80s and the 70s because they were everywhere. They were on spinner racks. But they eventually went away. But Diamond, who is the monopoly of comic book distribution, has brought back the spinner rack, and comic book stores can buy one for $299, and it'll hold it has 44 pockets and 250 comics can be on the spinner rack. Mm-hmm. The only difference is at the very top it doesn't have a picture of Spider-Man, which is what I fondly remember. It had the 4 different comic book companies at the top. It had Archie, it had DC, it had Marvel with Spider-Man's face, and it had
Can I burst your bubble, Brad?
Was it Dell? Yeah, you can bust my bubble. What?
Hastings had spinner racks.
Did they really? I never saw them.
Just depending on which store. But yes,
They didn't
Hastings
have-
has some spinner racks.
Anyway, so they're trying to bring him back with the fond memories of the fans because the newsstand has gone away, which is my segue into JR's news topic, which I thought the newsstand was long gone, but evidently DC was still putting books out. JR, talk about this. The newsstand officially died this year.
Now, see,
I know you don't like the topic. Let's just talk about it. I can predict what you're saying.
Oh, no, it's topical for JR because JR remembers when print first started.
Exactly. He was helping
but he's not.
build the printing press.
JR knew Methuselah when he was a small child.
I mean, didn't you think the newsstand had already died, JR?
Well, that's not what he's talking about.
It's
I
not.
mean,
Go ahead.
no, I mean, it's like the newsstand business. What it was apparently Casada was just musing, and someone asked him, do you think comic book sales will ever go back to the 90s? And they started talking about the speculator market and other things. And then they talked about whether or not the newsstand returns were part of sales. It really isn't a story about the death of newsstand sales. I mean, those have been gone for a long, long time, Barnes and Noble notwithstanding. And this is just Joe talking about here, ultimately it becomes a conversation about who's supporting the industry as the hardcore fan. So that's what this is about.
I understand where you are confused
because it's ironic because Marvel does everything they can to drive that fan away. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brad.
I did not provide the link to JR's news topic, which I should have in the links. I'm trying to find the story now. I apologize, JR. No wonder you were confused.
While we're waiting for Brad,
beyond my senility, obviously.
Yeah. While we're waiting for Brad to find this, the CEO, JR, you probably saw the CEO of the New York Times came out this past week and said that print journalism, that means like print edition of newspapers, probably have less than 10 years to go. JR, you and I have been saying this for a long time, that stuff like print magazines, periodicals, all this other stuff was going to go the way of the dodo. I think JR, like 5 years ago, you and I said maybe it had 20 years left. This dude was saying like he thinks it maybe has less than 10. So, just throwing that in there while Brad's searching the Googles.
Yeah.
Well, it is kind of related a little bit to this because, I mean, if you're thinking about the physical print stuff is how they're still measuring sales estimates these days, and they're not really counting any of the digital stuff at all, which I think is that would probably, I mean, I imagine there's some difficulty like how exactly you're going to include that in sales tallies and everything like this, but yeah, I was just looking over some of the stuff that Quesada was talking about how he's kind of saying that he's almost kind of like advocating like this, like, oh, this is almost like a welcome change kind of thing that we're going, that that we won't go back to a newsstand model of some kind.
And
that it's just
another thing, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike. I'm sorry.
No. Go. Yeah.
And because I don't know what you guys talked about SpinnerX, because I had to get up and use the bathroom and then.
I just talked about how Diamond is bringing them back.
This is another case when, and show of hands here, your local comic shop. How many of you have them where it's like, really comics are only part like a section of what they have, and the rest of it is like games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This kind of thing takes up game space.
Cards too.
Yeah. So I don't know that this is going to have the same kind of. I mean, yes, we're nostalgic for it. Yes, it makes people like me, Brad, and think back when we were kids, and it makes JR think back to his second failed marriage. But
just the second one.
Yeah, just the second one. But because that was back in the 60s and 70s, and but no, I mean, while we have that nostalgia for it, number one, $300 is a lot to pay for a spinner rack.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make some money.
Number two, that's you gotta fill that spinner rack with product that's really not selling anymore. Especially not as much as the games that they sell. Now, tabletop games are huge, and card games are huge. Still a lot of business there. Role playing games have made a huge comeback. Mike and Ashley know all about that. And this is what these are the things that are making money now.
Right.
You know, that and like, you know, D&D miniatures, things like that. And so this kind of thing is going to take up game space, you know, in a shop.
Well, and the other thing is that we.
I'm sorry, Mike.
No. Go ahead. I mean, you go ahead, Zach.
To dovetail Cody over on the group chat, he used to work at Hastings, and Hastings not only had the spinner racks, but they had some great fixtures. And when they did their liquidation, they also sold a bunch of those fixtures. So, like, I think he's out of Houston. So there were some stores in Houston that bought all those fixtures because they were really nice. You had the shelves on the front and the back. You had the drawers that you could pull in and out, and have all the comics stacked in there for your back issues. So Diamond selling that spinner rack so close to the liquidation of the largest chain retailer of comics. I just don't think that they're going to be able to sell a lot of these things.
Well, here's the thing about this. I mean, part of it, I know this is realized it's kind of a marketing strategy to kind of appeal to more nostalgic fans. Well, appealing to like the nostalgic old days of like comic books and everything, like the classic things, like what's going on with, especially what Marvel's trying to do with Marvel Legacy and everything. That's only going to go so far. If the content is not that great. Again, this is something I said the last time before too, is like, if your content is not good, then you can have all the little bells and whistles you want and appeal to like an older fan base and everything like this. That if you think that's where their money is, it's still not going to draw them in. If you pick up a book and you go, oh, this book is really not that great. I think it's always like the craving is for, having like something new, innovative stories, not necessarily recycling or rehashes of old ones.
Right.
Cody,
I can't find the exact link of the story, but I did see that Barnes and Noble has officially pulled DC Comics off their newsstand. So now the only way you can get a comic book is through a comic book store, not randomly coming across it in a bookstore.
Cody in chat wants Ashley to comment on all of this, he says. Because Ashley's just sitting over there quiet and trying to be invisible.
Just trying to remember. This is a little before my time. I think I remember going to the grocery store with my dad, and I would look in the book and magazine aisles, and they'd have some comic books, and I'd always look at I wasn't into like superhero comic books back then because I was like less than 10. This is like little 8-year-old Ashley we're talking about.
Aww.
I always collected the Powerpuff Girl comics because I like those a lot.
The day is saved. The Powerpuff Girl.
That's the extent of my memories on the subject. So
that was surprisingly good, Zach. I'm actually kind of impressed. That was nice.
But a lot of our memories are having a good. I mean, I have fond memories of buying comics off the spinner rack. A lot of my books are from there.
Yeah, but it was a different time.
Yeah, it was.
The stuff we bought off spinner racks cost like 50 to 75 cents, 60 cents. Yeah. Back when JR was doing it, they were still selling them for like a nickel, 10 cents when they first came out, back in World War I. And, so it's different for us. But today, the marketplace is not the same as it was when we were that age. It's just not.
I would say, as far as the print industry dying, with as far as like newspapers, magazines, and so on.
Not books, periodicals.
Periodicals.
Yeah. I can say that I work in publishing, and I can say with fair confidence there aren't going to be any new publishers opening up, but the ones that are there, authors are always going to have that kind of streak of combination of vanity and nostalgia where you want to hold your own book in your hand. So we're always going to have that.
Yeah. But the thing about digital is, it's going to be here. Digital formats is here to stay. The only thing I kind of somewhat concerned about with all this stuff is everything. What happens if your digital platform goes kaput and you got no print and you got no kind of hard backup to it? That's always kind of the thing.
That's my thing about it is I wish you could save it directly to the devices. With the cloud, you live by the cloud and you die by the
cloud. Yeah. Do you have it? There are external hard drives and like zip drive things you probably can get, but or a little thing. But the thing is, it's not as if this stuff, I mean, any kind of electronic device, I mean, it's easily can be, power outages or some kind of, power surges and stuff could easily short these suckers out. And then what happens? You lose you're basically, if we're going to, if the wave of the thing is going towards a more digital format, in terms of just not just, for comics and but any kind of documentation or even information, it's going to be a point where I imagine practicality, you're still going to need something kind of, ideally you need something kind of more physical, something, because if you do lose something, you lose something that's print, it's something that's kind of like just digital format only, it's gone, period.
Another aspect. I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No. I mean, no, but you go ahead, George.
Another aspect of this and we talked about this on the podcast before, is if newsprint, periodicals, magazines, newsprint that does finally die out, that's going to make the cost of comic books go up also.
Yeah.
Because the paper that they have to print that stuff on is going to become increasingly expensive.
Paper's always expensive.
It should. The price will go up because one more time, George. I didn't follow the logic. What?
Okay, so right now we sell way fewer newspapers. All right, and I know about this because JR, you remember Alex? Alex and I used to work for a company that did print things.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of paper when the newspapers were printing, all right, like on newsprint, that was the paper prices were set at a certain level. But when newspapers started selling less papers, the price of papers increased because the newspapers had to try to make more money, so they had to increase the price of newspapers. But that meant that the price of the paper actually increased, even though the demand for the paper, for the newspapers themselves, was falling. So it had at the same time, it also had an effect on every other thing that was printed.
Yeah.
All the other paper stock, anything that was printed on paper also rose because of that.
The thing that I think, and the reason they priced the digital books at $3.99, just like the paper printed ones, is so comic stores don't go out of business. I think what is a song on iTunes? $1.29? Don't you think that's a fair price for a comic book?
Well, and that's the other thing. I mean, you can get on. I mean, there is something for example, you go on your Marvel. I know you Marvel Unlimited. You get like a whole bunch of stuff for like a monthly rate kind of thing. Monthly rate,
$60 a year, I think.
I think that's probably where the future is, not with Comixology, but directly from the people that sell them.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, because if you're talking about, most average comics are like, if you're with, that's like about a 20-page story, and you're paying like about you're paying close to like $4 on average for it. Whereas if you basically get something like a film, you're practically basically, if you go on Netflix, you're practically paying the same price per month for a whole bunch of stuff. So again, it goes back to this idea of like, what's your money's worth kind of thing. I mean, it's I
don't think we get our money's worth of $4 every month.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I mean,
we do not.
And again, it goes back to the content stuff too, is also kind of affecting that. So the ideal is I think it'd be more lucrative if you have like the content stuff that's worthwhile. Like maybe if you're going to go to a more digital format thing, if we're going to move away for that thing, I would imagine ideally you would probably kind of you should probably increase the length of the stories essentially, because with a digital format, you could actually do that. Now.
$4 for like 6 comics, what sounds fair. But
yeah, I mean,
George, let's go to your topic. DC's new online policy for their creators. Let's talk about that. This ought to be a good one.
Yes. So of course,
let me check something right quick. I want to see if somebody's still on Twitter or not.
Okay, so we at the Crawl Space, we've talked about this, and people who come to our site know this. We've had a history with Dan Slott, and we've had a history with Steve Wacker, the previous editor of Spider-Man, who we at one point had to ban several times from our site, for his behavior. And I remember one time we were talking about Slott's behavior. I think he had made some sort of offhand reference about KFC.
Yeah,
I think it might have been the KFC thing. Yeah, and I think he said like FKFC or something like this. And I pointed out at the time, I was like, "This is a partner. KFC like carries Marvel products on their like chicken tubs and other things, different, like when movies come out or things like that. They do. They've done it in the past. I think they were also the sponsor of like one of those Marvel touring. Ooh, look, we're superhero live shows or whatever, like the Ice Capades for dudes.
Right.
Anyway, so or as we call them, monster truck rallies. And
escapades for dudes.
so, I pointed that out, and Whacker, I think it was on that thread, took umbrage to that and was like, look, Dan Slott does not represent Marvel. And I answered with a picture of Dan Slott at a convention with a badge that said Dan Slott Marvel.
Yeah.
And then Whacker went apeshit. Whacker just lost his damn mind and started.
He's a for-hire employee or something like that. Or
Yeah. So he's
a freelancer. Yeah.
Here's freelancer. In this increasingly woke digital age of social media, we've had several online experiences now where you've had fans and creators clash. And we've pointed out how many. I mean, this is going back years. We've talked about this kind of thing before. Well, I remember at one point we've even talked about, dude, why if you're somebody and you're a writer, you're an artist, whatever, and you want someone to buy your product so you stay employed.
Yeah.
And if you're the company that pays to produce this product, why are you fighting with people? Why are you being frankly assholes to them? I've talked about this before. Tom Brevoort's behavior towards a lot of fans is completely inexcusable. Mm-hmm. And although he's dialed that back, I think maybe at some point somebody may have talked to Brevoort. But and it's the fans are going to be fans. They're always going to do that. No matter if it's TV, no matter if it's sports, no matter what it is, fans are always going to be passionate and wild. And I'm not talking about like death threats. That should never happen to anybody. But like we had always talked about this. We had said, well, why don't more people act like Tom DeFalco? Mm-hmm. Like back on the Spider-Girl, back on the Alvaro boards, back when those were a thing. You could see Tom DeFalco interact with fans, and most of it was positive because people love Spider-Girl, people love Tom DeFalco Spider-Girl, and there weren't podcasts where people were like, I can't believe this, Tom DeFalco does another character. And I remember one time somebody had just gone off on some big criticism at Tom, and Tom DeFalco was like, I'm sorry you didn't like it, maybe there will be something coming up that you will. Bam.
Yeah, it's professional.
Bam. Mm-hmm. Completely professional. And above arguing about it. What, Ashley?
That's just something you have to do as a writer too. Not everyone's gonna like your work, and you just have to accept that.
And so DC now in this increasingly woke age, because we've covered the way Slott interacts with fans on different message boards, especially at CBR where there's a double standard. And a lot of these places where these guys post, there is a double standard. Oh well, they're pros. They get to treat fans badly if they want to, while asking for your money. And we've pointed that out how unprofessional that is before on the podcast. Well, DC finally, in this age of super wokeness, decided, this is something that we're gonna encourage. This was, and I say encourage, this was an internal memo that got sent out that was, I guess, leaked to Bleeding Cool. Mm-hmm. And DC laid out guidelines about how to comport yourself online. And I'll go through some of them.
Yeah, let's hear them.
One of them, don't be a dick.
In so many words, yes.
Which is funny, because if you know where that phrase comes from, it comes from Star Trek actor Will Wheaton. And if you follow his Twitter, he breaks his own rule daily almost. It's like you'd be hard pressed to find a bigger dick on Twitter than Will Wheaton. Anyway,
yeah, shut up, Wesley.
So DC Entertainment social media guidelines for talent, and this and they framed this as, and remember, DC is a division of Warner Brothers, right? And they go into it. This is meant to empower you, on how to participate in social media. Yep. Stay positive when you post.
Can I also take a minor timeout? If you don't think this is also involving the AT&T deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Stay positive when you post. And we also recommend that you avoid negative comments in this very public forum.
Wow.
You may want to refrain from engaging with individuals who may be speaking negatively about you, other talent, DC, our fans, and the comics industry, as this is a no-win situation.
Wow.
If there has been a personal threat to you or those around you, then in addition to alerting DC, please involve the proper enforcement authorities.
This makes sense.
Use good judgment when posting, reposting, and liking comments, photos, and videos, as these may have unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Social media is very visible. Talent should take special care when using social media to ensure that comments and postings made by you are not associated with DC. If you're a writer or editor for DC, that's damn hard.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, basically, they laid out guidelines on how they expect you to act as someone who writes for DC, as someone who writes or draws or edits for DC.
Right.
And this is, yes, the timing on this, I do think has much to do with the AT&T deal. But this is so late in coming.
Mm-hmm.
If this had been done, even 5 years ago, this thing could have been done by both companies.
Oh yeah.
You could have stopped so much animosity that's built up on social media right now. You really could have.
Oh, because think about how much during the New 52 era.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They were just all over each. I mean, it was like Michael Bailey would tell us that many wars were fought during that period of time.
Oh yeah, yeah. Many people were lost.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, well, I mean, my whole reason for leaving wasn't because of the way that they were comporting themselves online. It was the whole thing about, oh, we're just going to reboot every 5 years. You've given me no reason to give a damn about any of your stories at all.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then sure enough, what do they do? Like what, less than 5 years later? Oh, look, it's another reboot. Although this one was we're going to do one more reboot, and boy, did we screw up. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know, which Marvel's incapable of doing. Marvel absolutely has this pride thing where they will not do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but now we talk about this because at the same time this was breaking, Dan Slott's Twitter account went dark.
Yep.
And I don't know, did Jack?
No, I just looked. It's still gone.
It's still gone.
Dan Slott's Twitter account just went missing. Dan Slott is prolific, and it's not just us that noticed that. It's other websites that notice how much how much time Dan Slott spends fighting with fans, going after fans.
Yeah.
He will. He will. If you have said something in passing about him, and you're tweeting to somebody else, he will find you.
Yep.
Dude, I mean, Douglas Ernst is a classic example of that. They him and Dan have just like been going at it for almost as long as we have.
So, so suddenly, when this is breaking at DC, and keep in mind, over at Marvel now, we've seen signs, and we've talked about not just with Cebulski coming in, but signs that we thought were saying that like there's a different sort of marketing initiative now going on.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like there's like a lot of people are like getting replaced, or they're bringing in new people from other things. You know what I mean?
It also, they may be connecting the dots that this is affecting their bottom line, as evidenced in I put a post in our admin thread or our review thread. The Walking Dead outsold every Marvel comic for the last.
And Kirkman got on Twitter and was like, when I left in 2008, there were people at Marvel told me I would fail, and he's like, now I light cigarettes with $100 bills.
Yep. He's like I posted in that one in our in the crawl space for one of the Facebook pages, like he's basically Scrooge McDuck at his house, like swimming in this little cash at this point.
And it's like, I mean, basically that's true, but it's like, you know, he's out there, you know, he's making a bajillion dollars. He's printing money. And you know, he's out there, you know, when they told him he would fail, and he's doing this. And meanwhile, you've got Quesada who got not let go from the company, but is no longer with the movie division.
Yeah.
Suddenly acting like he wanted to come back to publishing.
Yep.
Just, you know, basically trying to put a positive spin on all that. Yeah. And that's very funny from Kirkman. But anyway, so you know, the bottom line is whether or not Marvel, we're starting to think maybe I say we, some of us, I think, have started to think maybe Marvel's following suit, and it just hasn't gotten out yet. That Cebulski coming in maybe also be part of that. But here's the thing: at Marvel, if you're going to do this, there needs to be a cleaning of the house. There's editors that need to go. There's entire creative teams that need to be brought in. There is so much venom and rancor now between a lot of the people that write these things and draw them, and the people that they expect to buy from them.
Now, the thing about this whole thing about the DC, this form like a polite conduct on Twitter thing, there are some grumblings that they're thinking maybe one of the reasons why they put this up is because of certain political opinions that certain political opinions, like, but and so there's a concern that some of these guys have is like thinking, are you going to use this? Are they going to be using this as like a means of policing?
Here's the thing in the United States, we all have free speech. We're all allowed to say whatever the hell we want. That does not mean your job can't drop your crazy ass if you go.
There's free speech, but there's consequences of your
speech. You're
right.
You can say what you want, but that doesn't mean you're protected by any repercussion that comes later.
For instance, in the first issue of Marvel 2-in-1, Spider-Man makes a Trump joke in the preview art.
And that's one thing Cebulski had said coming on. He was like, he even mentioned the politics specifically.
Right. Yeah.
Had said people don't want it in their comics.
No.
Well, I mean, they eliminated the Trump joke out of the final printed copy.
Completely eliminated it.
Yeah.
See?
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of these things where you kind of have to feel. I think there's definitely kind of the pressure. I think I'm wondering a lot of this has to do. Some of this also has to do with the result of Secret Empire, because that was far and away. Oh yeah, and I think I am convinced that we're still seeing the detrimental effects from that on Marvel right now. And they're trying to do hopefully they're trying to do some kind of course correction. But right now, everything, especially with Marvel Legacy has turned out, it's just been kind of, but again, with this whole Twitter thing and stuff, I agree that this is the kind of stuff that should have happened, maybe a policy that should have been placed years ago.
To play Mephisto advocate, people will say that politics have always been in comics. I mean, on Captain America's first issue, he was punching Hitler in the face.
Well, that's not politics. That's
patriotism.
That's patriotism. That's not politics.
That's not something that would be particularly divisive. I don't think you would have any lines being drawn over.
If you had Green Lantern on the cover kicking FDR in the nuts, that's political.
Right. It's not so much. See, the thing is, stories can be political. I mean, one of the best comic graphic novels of all time is Watchmen, and that's filled with it.
Hyper political.
Yeah. I mean, but I think it's more like, this is more like people like creators, like writers and artists taking on a social media platform and arguing political comments that probably that's above their pay grade, essentially. Like when they're talking about various issues and stuff. I mean, even they have opinion stuff. Well, that's the kind of stuff you want to put in your stories. It's not necessarily you go on like some kind of your social media platform and just start going railing on all sides and everything, because the idea is that your job is as writers and creators and stuff to let kind of that's your that's kind of your main platform, is you want to tell that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily a social media thing where, I mean, granted, social media is a great way to engage with your fan base, but at the same time, it's one of those, you're kind of like, your job is to kind of try to promote your work, not to just like, become political.
It eliminates half of the audience. Half of the audience voted for this way. Half of the audience voted this way. Don't you want the money from both people?
As politically divided as we are, I'm not doing timeout. I'm trying to do division with my hand.
Division, yeah.
As politically divided as we are as a people now, you can't afford to go out and try to piss off half the people that you would potentially want to buy your product.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any kind of damn sense. And see, this is the thing. I mean, Stan is a big liberal, and I love Stan. I take a bullet for Stan. Stan's a huge liberal. I'm pretty sure I could probably talk politics with Stan without Stan trying to call me a Nazi. Or Stan telling me, this, or you know what I mean? And he comes from a different era where you still respected other people's opinions, and at the time the comics reflected that. They may have taken on certain political tones, but they still did it with a middle ground where they were trying to make a point without calling you a demon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's something that should have been done a long time. And also consider this. Remember, we've had rumors now saying that Nick Spencer is going to replace Slott.
Yeah.
Right, as a writer on ASM. Isn't Spencer's Twitter account still protected to where you can't see anything on there anymore?
Yeah, I checked it the other day.
That gives you even more of an indication that maybe he is about to start writing Spider-Man.
To be fair, I just did a little bit of thing. Stan is still on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's not hyper woke on there, is he?
It's not most of it's talking about Spider-Man, honestly.
Yeah, see, I mean, that's the thing.
It's harder to go out on Facebook trying to pick fights with people.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it is. Oh, by the way, apparently a 3.5-inch version of that costume that Ashley loves and George hates is coming out too. Sorry, George. But yeah, no, I mean, most of it's about Spider-Man and stuff like that. So it's you know, it's not him doing his stupid musings that he would do every 15 minutes.
Let's get JR's opinion. We haven't heard JR in a while. What's your opinion on the social media guidelines?
I can already hear this in my head right now.
Well, you know, for one, it's they're a little bit late to the game. A lot of employers have social media guidelines. My employer has social media guidelines.
Same.
I mean, and one reason, in fact, that I ended. I never had Twitter. I had Facebook for a while, but one reason I just ended mine was, you know, sometimes you get the impression that when you have one of these accounts that what you're saying is important and that people actually give a shit. And sometimes that leads you to make statements that are fairly stupid. And, you know, I remember there was a period of time where, like in Cleveland, for example, you know, people were making comments about the owner of the Browns and, you know, they might delete it in 10 or 15 minutes and then it was gone. But it didn't matter. It was there forever and they lost their jobs. You know, so yeah, this is long overdue. But, you know, just because a lot of employers already have them.
But this is also again
remember,
pitching that AT&T deal by becoming part of a multimedia conglomerate, the way Time Warner is. The ball game's changing, boys, and you know, Disney may or may not have this type of policy, but it may give everybody pause.
Disney does have this.
Disney does indeed have that kind of policy.
Disney does have a social media policy. Marvel doesn't follow it, apparently.
Well, I was gonna say, even when I was I remember when I was in school, I was studying to be a teacher. And one of the first things they drilled into us is, even right now, be very careful about what you put on social media because that will be used against you. You need to use it with.
The last thing a parent wants to see is some teacher's hot sports opinion, and then worry about their kid getting that kind of bias in the classroom.
Right.
And even something as innocent as taking a picture with a glass of wine. I remember stuff like that. They'd be like, "Don't do that," because you could
guess
lose
what?
That.
I just found the Disney's employee standards of business contact and use of social media policy. Let's look at it.
Okay.
Here I'm gonna share it
Don't
with the
point
group.
with one
So
finger.
if I can't if I miss something, here it is.
Okay.
Employees must protect the company's confidential or proprietary information when using company platforms. Must comply with the company policy. The platforms are intended to foster productivity, efficiency, and teamwork. Employees should avoid unnecessary, unproductive arguments and refrain from discussing sensitive or inflammatory subjects that are not related to work, such as politics or religion. Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's see. When other activities conducted must be related to the company's business.
So if that is the guidelines, are we thinking here that maybe it's possible that Disney's finally decided to clamp down on Marvel's
or it may be
publishing arm?
It may be a case where Cebulski's coming in and Cebulski's like, you know what, we better do this ourselves before Disney decides to do it for us.
For us, yeah, right.
That would make sense.
I mean, but I mean, it's definitely, I think we're all in agreement. This is something that probably should be. This is standard practice for most, companies, especially entertainment companies or any kind of journalist companies as well, too.
Well, I mean,
Some anyway. I mean, they kind of like, if you're going into certain ones, it depends. It ends, but it's something that should be just kind of, kind of common sense stuff that you're putting in. I think I think the concern is just how well are these guys going to police this? Like, what did they do? How did they decide what is going to be, correct, essentially? Because I mean, you could get in a situation where you could have certain opinions that they can still just kind of slide by, while others won't.
I'm pretty sure we've seen our last Captain America as a Nazi story for a while.
Probably so.
And I'll
Yeah.
say this. Alonzo let the inmates run the asylum.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Alonzo was so
doubt.
hands. I mean, think about when he was an editor. He was so hands off with his editing style with JMS. I mean, there were some blatant continuity errors that any editor worth his salt would have caught.
Yeah.
And I liked a lot of JMS's run, but I also had a lot of problems with it. Like I think it was like the second JMS issue. We have Mary Jane, Harry, and Gwen, and they're like, "Oh, back in high school."
Yeah.
Which didn't happen. So I mean, the inmates ran the asylum. They basically got to do whatever they wanted.
It was the complete opposite of Shooter.
Oh yeah. He was so laissez. I mean,
I try to think sometimes how Shooter would react to certain things that I see online from creators, and I'm like, would Shooter call this person, or call this person? Are you high right now?
There was something I saw about Shooter not too long ago, that he was reacting to some of this stuff, that some of the current practices going on, and I forgot where it was, but it was something that, like, along the lines of this, basically essentially saying that this kind of stuff, like, we wouldn't have tolerated back in my day, kind of thing, because it was, he understood it was a business. Yeah, exactly.
He understood there were certain stories you couldn't tell because the Bible Belt wasn't going to buy it.
And also the fact that too is that everything kind of has to, all these if you're going to be taking a comic book company which it's involved in the shared universe, you have to make sure that everything that there is, not some conflicting things in there. I mean, we've seen stuff like recently come out that just like kind of contradicts one another and stuff like this. No, you got to have everything. Yeah. I mean, you can't. I mean, we talked probably a couple of times in the review podcast of like how we see sloppy editing sometimes all the time with the with Nick Lowe's lack of editing skills, essentially, in some cases. I mean, this is some. So again, it's just a lot of this.
But Nick Lowe succeeded Alonzo on the X-Men, so he learned from a guy that didn't do editing.
But as X-Men fans will tell you, Nick Lowe's tenure on that time, it was probably, you get into some, you ask them, because the X-Men fans are, they if you think we Spider-Man fans are really kind of, every time you ain't seen nothing when it comes to X-Men fans and their comics and how their continuity intensive they are.
Yeah.
Because
real quick, I've got two things I want to add, but so we can wrap it up. I'll tackle this one. We forgot to mention it. Marvel sent me out a press release on Amazing Spider-Man 800. It's got a beautiful looking cover by Alex Ross of the Red Goblin. You've got the floating faces of guilt. Let's see if I can name them: Robbie, Jonah, Mary Jane, Flash, Miles.
Well, the way you're identifying Jonah these days, that probably
my tune is off. I think that's Harry. I think that's Aunt May. I think that's Betty Brant and the reporter at the Daily Bugle with Daredevil.
Phil Urich.
Phil Urich. And the other face, is that Mockingbird? Who is that face?
The one
that is a good question.
Blonde, I think.
The blonde. It's not Gwen,
under Ned Leeds. Under
would it be Liz Allen?
Maybe.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
that would make sense. That's father-in-law coming back.
Who's right above Miles's head? Right next.
I thought that was Flash.
That's Johnny Storm. That's Johnny Storm.
Oh, it's Johnny Storm. Oh, Johnny Storm's right next to Flash. I didn't even see Johnny Storm there. He's lit on fire. Anyway, let me read a little bit of the press release from Marvel. This is what they sent me this week. For 10 years, Dan Slott has taken Peter Parker on a crazy and spectacular adventures through the Marvel Universe. As he races towards his final issue, there's no reprieve for the web-slinger. Go Down Swinging takes Spider-Man on his most harrowing journey yet, and fans agree the Red Hot arc has been an epic hit, with issues 794 to 96 selling out before they even hit the shops. Now in issue 800, Slott and artist Stuart Eminem will unveil the biggest Peter Parker and Norman Osborn story of all time, JR.
Selling out, meaning we overshipped the hell out of it.
Yep.
joined by artists Humberto Ramos, Giuseppe Camuncoli, and Jim Chung. It's the first Marvel comic ever to hit 800 issues, and we're celebrating by bringing readers an epic and oversized anniversary issue featuring 80 pages of brand new story from the writer who has written more issues of Amazing Spider-Man than any other creator. Of Amazing Spider-Man, mind you. Not
Did they mention the cost?
No, they did not. Before Dan Slott takes his final bow in Amazing Spider-Man 801, dive into one of the most exciting stories in Spider-Man lore, culminating in the conclusion that has Spider-Man facing his most terrifying villain yet. Amazing Spider-Man 800 is the biggest single-issue story I've ever worked on, shared editor Nick Lowe says. It's 80 pages of story, and Dan and Stewart are being joined by some very important past Amazing Spider-Man artists to bring it to you in the coolest way possible. Everything you've loved about Dan Slott's run on this book is on full display in this monumental issue
At least
that will have you. It will have you shivering, crying, cheering, laughing, and wishing it would never end.
It's going to be $10, $15, or $20.
You've never seen or read a story like this. It's a mighty Marvel tale that sets the stage for Spider-Man's future, and you won't want to miss it. Amazing Spider-Man 800 hits comic shops this May. No cost is listed. Reaction, gang.
Whoever
they're trying so hard
was
to
not
be-
paid nearly enough.
Yeah,
What did you say, Ashley? I'm sorry.
Whoever wrote this was not paid nearly enough.
They're trying so hard to be Stan Lee, and they're just
know.
See, this makes me go back to this idea that I think we're kind of all having, like maybe that maybe Stan Slott was kind of forced to kind of wrap something up, because I remember I came across one comic when they one comment about this. I don't forget where when reaction to this. It's like, geez, this Red Goblin thing sounds like the most rushed thing ever. Essentially, like,
well, he
it's
never
like,
wrote Carnage, so he wants a chance at every one of them.
Well, apparently, I guess he wants to. Apparently, I don't know if it was something he wants to do Maximum Carnage right, like he did the Clone Saga right with Dead No More, the Clone Conspiracy. So,
Dan Slott, nothing will go unsullied. I will soil everything on my way out.
Well, here's the thing, though. Maximum Carnage, I mean, that's already a low bar in terms of Spider-Man story, so you can only you'll have nowhere to go but up. So who knows? So yeah,
like George is like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. But,
where is the line about? Okay, this is the line I want JR's reaction from. Quote: "It will unveil the biggest Peter Parker and Norman Osborn story of all time." That is quite the setup. JR, what do you think of that sentence?
Oh God, I think somebody's got diarrhea of the word processor. Just sitting there on. Yeah,
now,
I'm
JR,
just dreading.
which of these emotions in this press release will is most accurate of your excitement? Will it make you shiver? Will it make you cry? Will it make you cheer? Will it make you laugh? Or wishing it would never end? Which of those best sums up your experience about reading this book?
Shivering and crying is probably getting very close.
Do you wish it would never end, JR?
I wish it would never start. I have just been dreading this for a long time, this story arc. And, and see, here's the thing. It's going to be, starting 797, 798, 799, 800 is going to be 80 pages. And then I'm assuming 801 is going to be like an epilogue or something like that.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, to be honest, even the greatest of stories have certain limits. It seems like there's way too much padding. I don't know how they would even have enough story.
Well, this is for trade. I mean, you're gonna, that the reason why they have this many parts is so they can sell it in a trade paperback later on.
What issue of Amazing was $10? What was the milestone of the $10 issue? I forget.
It was number 25 of volume.
It was not 4.
Issue 25. There's no way this issue is not $10.
Oh yeah,
it's probably going to be $14.99 or something.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's at least going to be 15. Although there's part of me that thinks Marvel is ballsy enough to try to charge $20 for it.
And
if they do that,
$20.
yeah.
Wow. Well, here's the thing.
Wow.
People bought it for $10.
Yeah,
so
that's
I think
true.
if Marvel was to say, "Hey, look, we're giving you 80 pages of quality product,"
Yeah.
remember $30 for it. I bet Marvel would absolutely have that kind of.
Remember that comment that was made by Marvel's director of sales that it got everybody, apart from his whole thing like about diversity not selling and everything.
Yeah,
he said that because of that Amazing Spider-Man 25 issue, that people were willing to. They said, "Hey, people are willing to pay $10 for."
Well, maybe that
told them that they could just might as well just go ahead and
exactly. Maybe that $10 comic, George, you said it. That was a test. How far can we go with the fans?
I did say
their money.
I did say it, and at the time I said when we reviewed it, I said everyone listening to this who bought this issue, the next time they charge you this much, this is all on you for buying it.
That's right. Let's see if we can get $15 out of them. Let's see if we get 20.
Oh yeah.
This is it's one of those things where they and plus since it's a milestone issue, this thing is going to have like I don't know how many covers on this thing.
Oh yeah.
And plus no matter how much it actually sells. No matter how many orders actually go through to it, it's going to go to a second or third printing because they are going to overship the living crap
absolutely.
out of it.
The comic book retailers, guys. I can always predict they're going to make dealer orders are going to go up. The diamond are going to go up the wazoo for this thing.
And there are people that will put those damn variants on eBay for $27 billion, and then in a year these things will be worth. These things damn sure won't be worth the money you paid for them.
Right.
It's gonna be funny.
I've got one that we're going to wrap it up, and I've got another one because the fans demanded it. So, JR, this last news topic is another off-the-wall one, which I like to give to JR. There is evidently a new Spider-Man suit. I'm sorry, a Spider-Man shirt that we can all purchase, right, JR? Tell me about this. It's out of what's the website? Asia.
Well, if you're checking the Nikkei Asian Review like all of us do. On a regular basis, you would have seen this. First of all, the calling it a Spider-Man shirt is a bit of a stretch, but it is fascinating in a way because it does have, strangely enough, there is a Spider-Man connection. Basically, what this is, it's a biometric shirt.
Yeah,
and it will take it. It has sensors and other things like that, and it will. Let's see if I can. I probably have to read it off so I can get the. The shirt from Tokyo-based startup Zenoma, which sounds like some sort of skin cancer, a spinoff from the University of Tokyo, features a cloth-like sensor-equipped circuit laced through the garment that monitors body movements and sends information to a smartphone. So basically, if you're wearing this shirt and you're exercising, or you're maybe you're on devouring your second extra large pizza of the day or whatever, and your cholesterol starts going wazoo, or your blood pressure starts going wazoo, or something goes on with your heart, this can actually send messages or pulses to probably, like I said, your smartphone, a hospital, or whatever.
It's like wearing a symbiote, right?
Well, does anybody remember issue number of the honeymoon issue of Spider-Man? It was Spectacular Spider-Man Annual.
Number 7.
And when Thomas Fireheart, Puma, another one of the guys who can smell Spidey, was offering him a job. And he gave him a Spider-Man costume, and then Peter found out that it was loaded with sensors that was transmitting information back to Fireheart. And that was the very first thing I thought of when I saw this.
Right.
And it was like, it's I'm just amazed. I mean, I really am. I mean, it's like I said, it's got like lines on it, and somebody, I guess somebody is using their imagination and a little bit of LSD to imagine it to be like the black suit Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But the idea that they've actually got one of these things, and right now, I mean, they're probably
like the Black Panther costume.
Yeah. But it reminded me of that annual, and just how stuff that we grew up reading that was fantastic or science fiction is happening right under our noses. So this, unlike a lot of the stuff that, and of course I could only read this. I had to print this article because if I tried to read it more than once, the Nikkei Asian Review would make me have to go past their paywall. And of course But unlike a lot of the stories that Brad considers news,
You liked one, huh?
I wouldn't say I liked one, but it did remind me. I mean, I think there was a definite connection to a comic book story that I could make.
So if your shirt that you're wearing now, JR, was to tell a story, what would it tell me?
It would say probably "wash me badly." It would probably say, "Why don't you bathe more, you bastard?" It would
send that
things that
text to your
phone. Probably
That's
say.
funny.
What was I thinking? No, but the thing is, what's also frightening though, with some of this stuff, is that you almost wonder, particularly with health insurance the way it is, and for insurance companies to be able to continue to insure you, I almost wonder if we're getting to the point where you'll call up, you'll use your app, you'll order a pizza, and all of a sudden you'll get this message that this transaction has been canceled because your heart rate, your blood pressure, and cholesterol were this. You really don't need that pizza.
What was the name of the Terminator company that ruled the world?
Skynet.
Cyberdyne
or something.
Cyberdyne.
So Skynet
yeah.
was
Cyberdyne
the
system.
system.
Imagine if Cyberdyne was a health insurance company.
I mean, I think we're getting closer to things. We're getting closer to things like that, and as a society and a community, we're going to have to be very careful about where we draw the line on things. But then again, that's a debate we've been having ever since technology has been, becoming a more and more part of our lives. It's a debate we've been having for decades, and we'll probably continue to have for decades more.
Y'all tread lightly on the insurance thing.
Now
Big
you
Brother
all
is here, and we welcome him into our homes, basically.
now the spider panel thought we were done, but the fans have demanded. George, what's the line of news that you like to say?
Wait a minute. Hang on now. I did a Google search before we even got online tonight, and there wasn't any.
I found something, sir. Give me it. Let me hear it.
I want to hear it because this is going to be a big stretch. All right.
What do we got?
All right. It's time now for Ditko News.
All right. This is
very subdued.
This is the article that I found from, of all places, CBR. It was from last year, but you know what? It's new to us.
It was from last year. Breaking news
from last year.
Breaking news from last year. October 27th, 2017. The Comic Legends part. Someone asked, Steve Ditko agreed to work on a WWF comic because it fit his philosophical beliefs. Evidently, that's true. Steve Ditko worked on some WWF comics when he was over at Valiant. And Jim Shooter said that, let me just give you a quote. So, we were making some Nintendo and WWF comics, and interested tidbit is that David Lapham's first professional comic work was for one of our WWF books. Then one day, Steve Ditko came to see me. I don't know exactly how long Marvel had kept Steve on after I left there, but eventually they'd cut him loose. Jerks. I loved Shooter. I'd never before seen Steve looking, I don't know, worn down, worried, troubled, hard to say. Steve doesn't exactly show his feelings much and was not the type to express despair or even its lesser cousins. But he didn't look happy, he didn't look well, and he needed some work. I didn't have the power to make something to suit him, and believe me, Steve is the kind who would starve rather than violate his principles. But luckily, I had WWF scripts waiting to be drawn. The WWF faces, short for baby faces, good guys, were good enough, and the heels or the bad guys were evil enough to pass muster with Steve. And I think that was the one time I was happy that we had the WWF comic books. So there you go. George, do you watch WWF?
Well, it's WWE now. First,
okay.
It has been for a while now.
2003.
Yeah,
I watched it religiously when I was in middle school and high school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old enough to remember when when the first WrestleMania happened as a result of Cyndi Lauper getting involved with wrestling.
Yeah,
and Lou Albano and Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan and just Roddy Piper and the giant spectacle that all turned into. But before then, even in grade school and middle school, I had been a fan of like local Dallas wrestling. We used to have it here in Dallas at a place called the Sportatorium.
Oh
And,
Terry.
yeah, and I went there a few times. I was like the Von Erichs and all those people, and so I used to be a lot more into it, and it was funny because I think back now, like back when we were in junior high, we used to watch with my friend Anthony. We used to watch it, go, oh my God, is it, we ate it up like it was 100% legit real.
Yeah.
Like the storylines and everything else. We're like, oh my God, this is actually happening.
So in the 90s, would you have bought a WWF Steve Ditko book?
I might have, because I went away from it for a while, and then because as you get, there comes a certain point where you're like, wait, you mean it's not real? Well, son of a bitch. And then suddenly you're seeing pictures of them hugging backstage, of guys they just shit talked for the last 6 months to promote this damn thing, and you're like, what the what? So once you finally got into it, sometime in the mid 90s, PlayStation came out.
Yeah.
And for a while there, like every other damn game was like from Capcom, or it was a wrestling game, or a combination of the two.
Right.
And so I started playing a WWF game with my roommates, and I was like, I kind of miss the goofiness. And so we all decided to start watching wrestling again. And then at the time, one of my roommates was working for the cable company, and we wound up getting free tickets every time the WWF came into town.
Yeah.
And I became a huge Undertaker fan.
Yeah.
I just got wrapped into that. I mean, it was just a big bunch of goofy bullshit. But like, anytime I was watching on TV and then, people talking, and then suddenly, the lights fall and you're like, dong, that bell. I'm like, oh shit, it's about to get real. The Undertaker's on. And then, there's not, suddenly it's like I'm 12 again, and there's not a part of me saying idiot. That's every bit of, but you know what? No, just go enjoy yourself, kid.
But
so what?
Go ahead. But I mean, with WWF, there are what Ditko believes are real good guys and real bad guys, right?
I don't think that Ditko's not an idiot. I'm pretty sure Ditko realizes that it's all kind of a, it's a form of redneck performance art. And I think he gets that.
There's a difference between wrestling, sports entertainment, and wrestling.
But there was a time.
What's the quote again? Redneck performing arts.
Redneck performance art.
That's the best.
And but I think he recognized that in the storylines that there were obvious good guys of basic level good guys and basic level bad guys, which they call heel in the industry.
Yeah.
And in the nomenclature that is, and so, I think in that regard, he probably could have looked at it as easily as he did comic books back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, not comic books, but like superheroes, and say, there's a definite moral side here. There's not any gray area. You're either a crusader of light, or you are a total fucking demon, right?
Douglas filters off at 1 o'clock in the morning.
And so I think from that level, this Ayn Rand objectivist was probably okay with saying, I could totally do this, because these people are the bad guys and these people are the good guys, and whoever gave him the job was like, whatever, just make it look pretty and have it in on time.
Did you see the picture that I linked in the article? Is that the Undertaker with the big black coat?
No, which one? That is, you're talking about on the cover,
on the cover, that's the Dingo Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior.
Well, he started off in Dallas as the Dingo Warrior.
As the Dingo Warrior,
And then he became the Ultimate Warrior when he went to WWF. Thank you.
By the way, which is interesting enough because the Ultimate Warrior, I mean, if you ever heard like lectures of him, like when he's when he was out of his makeup thing, he would fit right in with Steve Ditko's, Ayn Rand objectivist stuff too.
Yeah.
Oh, very much so. I mean,
I was just thinking when I saw the Stanley
that dude though, so much roids.
When I saw the Black Panther Stanley cameo today, and I thought to myself, how nice would it have been if in all these Marvel movies you could have Stan with the artist, like they have an interaction. Like you'd have Kirby and Stan, but Stan has such a boisterous.
Kirby might be difficult. Kirby might be difficult now since he is past. Since he.
No, I'm saying.
But,
what if?
Oh yeah, but
what if?
I get what you say.
Kirby was still alive.
Here's the difference.
What if Steve Ditko wasn't so introverted that he didn't mind doing stuff like that?
Here's the thing. Stanley, yes, he's an extrovert. Jack Kirby, the reason why he's not with us is because he smoked 15 cigars a day. chain smoked his cigars at the desk.
Right.
But wouldn't it have been cool to have Stan and Steve on the big screen together?
Well, I do remember. Well, I mean, you've seen that documentary before about that was on AMC about the about behind
Searching
the scenes
for
like, comic
Ditko?
book stuff. Yeah, no, not just
sorry.
Searching for Ditko, but that thing where they did about they had the first episode was about the history of Marvel essentially, and how they did try to do like thing where, they would they like way back when they tried to put out like some kind of like, when they were trying to do their promotional stuff. Stan Lee was all over that, but Jack Kirby was kind of more somebody you kind of felt like he was somebody background. Steve Ditko very much even more so because
so much of Kirby's early art is based on wrestling.
Oh yeah,
So
that's
much
true.
of it is literally just like the Hulk and like big body types, just just
Well, yeah, a lot of the superheroes actually, a lot of their costumes and everything were kind of like originally were based off of circus performances and everything like this, and say wrestling is kind of a similar thing. So there's actually in a way, it's in a weird sense, wrestling is kind of like our first experience of live action comic books, if that makes sense, because there are because they are kind of supposedly, especially, and some of course, like wrestlers like The Undertaker took it to an extreme level, like saying we actually have to try to say that they actually have superpowers and all this other stuff.
Well, look, Taker.
But
first of all, Taker's also not. He's just so old now.
Oh, I know.
I kind of hate watch WWE.
I think he's older than JR, like legit.
Legitimately.
Oh yeah,
JR, you ever wrestle?
He must be in a wheelchair then.
No. Although his last match that he wrestled last year at WrestleMania, he probably should have been in a wheelchair. That dude had no business being in the freaking ring at all. But this is also the same business that had Ric Flair at 65 or 63 years old, being in the ring.
He's The Undertaker's 52 years old. JR, is that older or younger than you?
He's a little younger than me.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, just a little.
But these guys, wrestlers, of course, they rack their body.
Oh yeah, he won't be able to walk when he's an old man.
Because
he literally had to take time off to do a hip replacement.
That Ditko news got some good discussion going. Look at that. The first 2018 Steve Ditko news.
I got to talk about wrestling.
There you go. You didn't expect to do that tonight.
Most of this time, because the first half of that article, I thought we were talking about the World Wildlife Foundation.
I got a shirt for you that it has two pandas with one with a chair.
On that note, let's go around for.
Hey, Brett. You know what? Real quick on the wrestling thing.
Yeah.
I am shocked as hell that Stan Lee didn't find a way to worm himself into a WrestleMania at some point and hit somebody or do something or get hit in a chair. Yeah. I am shocked that never ever happened.
Oh.
I mean, he did an anime, so yeah, I'm surprised that would happen.
And I just want to point more at my camera and do this. Maybe one Kirby hand.
All right, we're gonna go around for final thoughts. Zach, final thoughts.
Well, that took a very interesting turn at the very end, but
I
enjoyed
you all with that one.
Yeah, I enjoyed this month of news far more than I did the actual review show.
Very true, Mike. This was your one show of the month.
Yeah, but still, we had some great topics on the thing, and we got to go into some interesting discussions of like movies and Twitters and also comic book covers. We did go into a comic book related thing and stuff like about how and are people actually going to go shell out their hard-earned money to actually buy this issue, which they probably will, but
right.
I don't know that I will, because if you guys think back, I almost didn't buy the $10 one.
That's true. You didn't. You did that on principle.
I told Brad ahead of time. I was like, I don't know that I'm buying this, dude.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm letting you know, Brad. If the price is $15, I won't buy 800. If I can borrow it from somebody around here, and there's one guy I know of that may buy, then I'll read it. But otherwise, I'm not buying it. That will be interesting to see where to compare how much of these copies get ordered versus how much actually buy this issue. And the stories, it's a slot story. It's already not enough. It's not even worth the $3.99 you would normally pay. But my point as a consumer is I have to stop at some point. I have to take a stance and say no. I'm not supporting this at all. I'm not doing it.
Final thoughts, Ashley.
Well, as bad as we're expecting Venom and Silver and Black to be. I am looking forward to Black Panther and Infinity War even more now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Final thoughts, George?
I'm really tired.
Yeah, me too.
And I guess that's about all. I'm glad to hang out with you guys. I'm glad to see everybody
doubt.
again. I'm loving the evil JR with the mirror JR.
And JR, mirror. What do we see?
What time?
Mirror?
Wait a minute. What time are we getting together tomorrow for Spider History?
Yeah,
Is
about 12 and a half hours from now, JR.
Is it 2 o'clock or 9 o'clock? Because George was quoting somebody at 9 o'clock on.
Wait, yeah, you said 9 p.m. on Sunday.
For tonight?
On Sunday, I thought.
No. Here, let me look on the front page.
Oh, crap.
Anyway,
Okay,
final, we'll talk about that later. Final thoughts, GR.
Oh, Hornacek beat Nick Jr. I don't quite get that. I was about to say you may be on my list with Tyson now. Harry Kavanaugh. Oh my God! Well, but I was about to say, this hat is nowhere near as absurd as Taco Burrito eating Spider-Man.
Senor.
You know, it's like that's why we need to build the wall to keep that out.
All right, real quick. One YouTuber asks us if the 2010s have been the worst decade for Spider-Man.
Senor.
Ooh, yeah.
I'd have to say, yeah.
I mean, comic-wise, it's yeah.
Well, I mean, 2000, as in just a 10-year span, yes. I mean, the last 10 years specifically, because One More Day happened, what, like right at the beginning of 08?
End of 2007, yeah.
Yeah, it's been nothing but 10 years of suck.
See, the funny thing is the comics have been so bad, but like all the other mediums have been so great. We're in a golden age for superhero as a concept.
Spider-Man movies, not so much.
Yeah. All right, that's a wrap, gang.
All right.
Thank you, YouTubers. Thank you, 25 viewers
Adios.
from watching us. We've had a steady 25 throughout the whole show.
Oh, good.
That's a long time to watch us all. So thank you all for watching.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to stop the broadcast.